Yeah, so the next thing that we are going to talk is about access and control. Okay. Now, if you have multiple users in the company, if you have multiple people in the company, all of them will not have same level of access.
Hello,
Correct?
yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. I cannot see your screen.
You cannot see my screen.
No.
Just give me 1 minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, can you see my screen?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Shiva, you
Thank
can
you.
see my screen?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can
Okay.
see. Yeah, I can
Okay.
see.
Okay. Great. So we are talking about controlling access and permissions for the users, correct? Simple stuff is that if there are 100 people working in the company and all 100 of them have access to Salesforce.com, do you think everyone will have the same level of access? Will everyone have the
Mm,
read permissions? Will everyone have the permission to see all the data? No,
no.
right?
Mm,
Everyone should not have the same level of permission because you don't want everyone to do everything. You just want
mm,
some people to see the data. Some people should just be able to view some part of the data. Some people are part of a marketing team. They should just get to see the data which is relevant to the marketing uh, operations. Some people are from the sales team. They should just be restricted to the sales data. So, that's what our requirement is. Correct.
mm,
Now, when we are talking about access and control, that's exactly what we will learn how to control, right? That if you have
mm,
multiple users, how do you control the permissions to those users? Okay, it's very
mm,
simple here in Salesforce. To control the permissions of the end users, we use something called a profile. What's a profile? Profile is collection of permissions. Okay, so a profile is basically a set of permissions or collection of permissions. You need to create a profile and put the permissions in the profile and assign that profile to the user. Got it? So all the permissions
mm,
that need to be given to a user need to be put into a profile, and that profile needs to be assigned to the user. Got it?
mm.
So that's how it is. It's gonna work. The permissions go into the profile, and then the profile goes to the user. All right.
Mm.
That's how it is. That's how simple it is. Okay. Now, while we're talking about profile, we have a few standard profiles or the ready-made profiles available. So when you buy a license from Salesforce.com, they give you a few standard profiles, and in addition to that, you also have the option of creating your own custom profiles. Okay, so there are two types of profiles which we have. Standard profiles. These are the profiles which are already available. Salesforce has already provided you with those profiles, and the custom profiles are the ones that you want to create. Correct? Okay, so let's quickly have a look into the list of profiles that we already have. So to check the profile, all that you have to do is you just have to go to setup. Sorry, yeah, you have to go to setup, manage users, profiles. So you just have to go to setup, manage users, profiles. So once you come to the profiles, you will see that there is a long list of profiles. So these are the profiles which are already existing. Okay. So what is a profile? Again, collection of permissions, right? So these are default collection of permissions which are existing. You can use any one of these for your user. If you don't feel that any of these profile works good for your user, then you can always go ahead and create a new profile exactly for your requirement, the way you want it, what all permissions you want to put inside it. Based on everything, you can just create one more profile. Okay, does that make sense? The standard profile and custom profile concept, is that okay? Now, what all permissions do we control on a profile?
Yes.
What permissions are we talking about in a profile? First is the apps that a user will get to see. Apps means the apps in this menu. What all apps will be visible to a user in this menu depends on the profile, or this can be controlled from the profile, right? Some users will have all these apps, some user will only have the sales app, some user will need to have only the marketing app. You're not going to show all the apps to all the users, right? The other day we were talking about creating new apps. So you have the sales app, marketing app, call center app, and in addition to that, we are also talking about creating new apps. New apps as in we created a new app for what exactly we are creating the app for? Project Manager? Yes. So Project Manager
Yeah,
app
yeah,
and the
project
project
management and the warehouse.
warehouse, right? So you can
And
create,
warehouse.
yeah, warehouse,
Mm.
yeah. So you can create multiple apps, but will you give that app access to everyone? No. Only the people who are working on the project management, they should have access to that, right? So to control who sees which app, again, that is done through profile. All that you have to do is you just have to go to the particular profile of the user and control it from there. Okay. So it's a, for system administrator. I click on edit. Just go to the system administrator profile, click on edit, and you will see the custom app setting here. All the apps are listed. You have to check which all you want to be visible for this profile user. Save it. Right. And that's it.
Mm.
Now if you see, only sales and marketing apps are available here because I just changed it in the profile. System
Mm.
administrator is the profile of the current user. How will you understand what is the profile of which user? If you go to manage users, click on users, it will show you against the name of the user what profile that user is having. So the current user profile is system administrator. So when I go and make changes in the system administrator, that's going to impact the permissions for this particular this current user. Got it?
Mm.
So that's the thing. Now sales and marketing profile, sales and marketing apps have been made visible through the profile. Only these apps are being visible. If you want to allow the other apps, again you have to go to edit profile and make this visible. So this is how simple controlling permission is in Salesforce. Very, very simple. All right. Now, the next is the tabs. Okay, which user will get to see which all tabs, that also depends on the profile. That's something which you can control on the profile. So if you don't want a certain user to view the forecast tab, so all that you have to do is go to the profile, click on edit, and right after the app setting, there is this tab settings. In tab settings, you have a list of all the tabs and you have the option of turning them off or turning them on. Forecast is the tab that we're talking about. Here it is. It's on. I will turn it off. Then this tab will not be visible to this profile user. See, the forecast tab is gone. It's not visible. Correct? That's how it is. That's how it works. All right. Okay.
Mm.
So that's about our That's about our tab settings. All right, that's the second thing that you control from the profile. The third thing that you have to control from the profile is the objects. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so object setting can also be done from the profile. Object setting basically talks about whether whether a user is able to create data in an object, whether a user is able to edit data in an object, whether a user is able to delete data in an object or not. So that sort of permission is basically called the object settings. Okay. So if you click on edit here and then scroll down, you will see the object permissions here. Standard object permissions, custom object permissions. Custom objects are the objects that you have created. In this particular org, we do not have any custom object. So all standard object permissions are being used here. All right. So while I'm talking about the standard object permission, see there are these permissions which are applicable for objects. Read, create, edit, delete. Okay, these permissions are there. Read, create, edit, and delete. Now, you see here, if you see it here, we don't have an option of editing this. See, everything is grayed out. I cannot edit any of these permissions. All right.
Okay.
The
Okay.
reason is in a standard profile, you cannot change the object permission. So object permission cannot be edited on a standard profile. Got it? So like
Mm-hmm.
we could change the tab settings and the app settings. Object permissions cannot be changed in a standard profile.
Okay.
In a standard profile, whatever object permission is there, that will remain, right? If you want to
Mm.
change it, all that you have to do is you have to create a new profile, a custom profile. So how do you create a custom profile? You can actually go to the new profile, or you can go to any particular profile and clone that profile. Let me call it support admin, save it, right? So that's how it is. Right. Now this is a custom profile because this is what I have created. Okay, the support admin. If I click on edit and then if I scroll down, you will see that you have the option of editing the object permissions also, which we did not have on the standard profile, right? So standard profiles do not allow you to make changes on the object permissions. Now, if you don't want to give the delete access to the end users of the profile, just remove the delete permission from here.
Mm.
So now, for which object, what level of permission you want to give, that you can control, right? So if you don't want
Mm.
to give the delete access on account, or if you don't want to give the read access on campaigns, now if you remove this campaign read access, then the users of this profile will not get to see the data from campaigns. Got it? So that's how it is. That's how it works.
Yeah. Uh,
Yep. Go ahead.
okay. And there is a one more option given that's just like in account. There is a option about create. Okay. But is this all are the standardized tabs. So user if user don't want to create, it's already created in the Salesforce like that.
No,
So
create, no. Create, when we are talking about, we are not talking about create account. We are talking about a record in the account. Okay. So
okay,
if you
entry. Okay.
entry, correct. So if you remove
Okay.
the create permission, the user will not have the option of creating a new record.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
that new button that comes where the user enters the data, that will not come.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
So we have understood the concept of profile. We are okay with the profile thing. So that's what we do with the profile. Now
Hmm.
you have to create the profile, and that profile needs to be assigned to the different users. So multiple users can have same profile. Why are we directly not giving the permission to the user? Why are we putting it in profile and then assigning the profile to the user? What do you think? How do you think that helps?
Yeah, because there is a different level of employee. Just every employee don't require every rights or every access.
Yeah. Now my question is that, so whatever permission an employee requires or a user requires, why don't we
Hmm.
straight away give the permission to the user? Why are we involving this profile in between?
Hmm.
What is the benefit of putting the permission in profile and then assigning the profile to the user?
Okay, if we because if we create the profile, that means we can change the rights to given to the user. Suppose right now we given the access to the user for one thing, then in a future we can also we change that access if we have create a profile for that.
Correct. So basically what we're talking about is, if you put it in a profile, then you will have, so basically uh, what you'll have to do is, if you have a profile, then you can just put the permissions in the profile once, and all those permissions can be then uh,
Hmm.
moved into, all those permissions can be then okay, let me put it this way. So once you have put once you have put the permission in a profile,
Hmm.
and you give the profile to one user, right, and then after that you have four more users who need the same permission,
Hmm.
then you can just assign that set of permission or that profile to all that set of users. Got it?
Hmm. Yes.
So instead of giving the profile to one user at a time, or giving the permissions to one user at a time, if you create a profile, then the same profile can be reused for multiple users. Okay, and at a later
Hmm.
point of time, if you have to make certain changes,
Hmm.
that can also be done, right? So for
Hmm.
10 different users, you don't have to do it 10 times. You just change it in one profile and it gets updated for everyone at once, right? So that is the
Hmm.
advantage. So reusability is the biggest advantage of profile.
Okay.
Got it? So a
Hmm.
set of users or a group of users will have their profiles. Okay.
Hmm.
Now the next concept that we're going to talk about is a permission set. The profile concept is clear. What are we doing with the profile?
Yes, it's clear. Yeah.
Yeah. So the next concept that we're going to talk is a permission set. What is a permission set? Permission set is used for, this is also collection of permissions. Permission set is also collection of permissions, but this is used to define exception to profile.
Hmm.
Okay. So
Hmm.
a permission set is used to define exceptions to the profiles. That's what a permission set is.
Hmm.
It is used to define exception to the profile. So used to define exception to the profile means what? What does that mean?
So, use a defined exception to profile.
Let's say if you have 10 people using the same profile, it's a very simple concept again. If I have 10
Okay.
people using the same profile,
Hmm.
one of those people, 10 people are using same profile, which means everyone
Hmm.
has same level of permission, correct?
Hmm.
Now, if there are out of 10, there is one person who needs some additional permissions.
Okay.
So that's like an exception. Okay, out of 10 people, there is only one person who needs a few additional permissions. Then how will we deal with that? If you make changes in the profile, let's say I have 10 users,
Hmm.
and for these 10 users, I have created a profile
Hmm.
called ABC.
Hmm.
This ABC has let's say 10 permissions, whatever.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
Now, out of these 10 users, there is one user who needs one additional permission, only one of them.
Okay.
Okay, then it becomes
Hmm.
a difficult situation for us because if I make changes in this profile, then what will happen? Everyone will have
Everyone
access to
will.
the profile. Correct.
Yes. Hmm.
So I cannot make changes in the profile.
Hmm.
The second solution that you can think of is go ahead and create a new profile.
Hmm.
Creating a new profile is again a challenge. Why?
Hmm. Yeah.
Why creating a profile is a challenge? Because
Uh,
if you create one more profile, this ways you will end up creating a lot of profiles. If for these
yes.
small exceptions we keep on creating profiles,
Hmm.
then we'll need to, we'll end up creating a lot of profiles like this. And
Hmm.
the life of system administrator will become very difficult, will become
Okay.
tough. So for that reason, all that we have to do is we just have to go ahead and define a permission set. Okay, so a permission
Hmm.
set can be defined as one more additional collection of permission, and it
Hmm.
can be assigned to the individual user.
Okay.
So let the profile be there for all 10 of them. The one person who needs additional permission, give him one more permission set and put that
Hmm.
permission required by him in the permission set. Simple,
Hmm.
very simple
Yes.
concept. Okay, it's like an add-on. It's like a add-on to the basic profile that the person has.
Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah. Hmm.
so how do we define a permission set? It's quite simple here. All that you have to do is you just have to go to setup permission sets, create new permission set, click on new. Whatever permission you want to put, before that just give it a label or a name. Please set one, save. Okay,
Hmm.
so that's what we are going to put in the permission set, and you just have to put the permissions in the permission set. Let's say you want to assign one access to an app through the permission set. Let's say you want to give permission to access marketing app. So that has been put in the permission set. Now this permission set can be given to the end user. So your permission set is ready.
Hmm.
This permission set can be assigned to the end user. So in addition to his profile, he will also have the access to the permissions that he
Permission.
have got from the permission set, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So this way is what you're doing. You're maintaining your profile and you're giving additional access to the people who require it. Got it?
Okay.
So now how do we assign a permission set to the user? All that you have to do is go to the user, click on the username,
Hmm.
scroll down a little, and here there is this option of permission set assignments.
Okay.
So under permission set assignment, you can click on edit assignment and allow the permission set to the user.
Okay. Okay. Hmm.
Yep. Clear on this?
Yes. Okay.
Let me know if there is any doubt or any question.
No. So while we are at the company, okay, we have to careful about this one because there are lots of the profile or maybe lots of the users as well. No?
Yeah, there are a lot of users, but that's what the job of profile is, right? To make your job easier. So if
Okay.
there are 200 users, but out of 200 users, 20 people are from sales team and they need same kind of permission. So you just create one profile for all 20 of them, right?
Okay. Yeah. Right.
So
Hmm.
for 100 users, you might just have to manage with five or six profiles. End of the day, you're just going to manage with five six profiles, correct?
Okay. Yeah.
That's where the advantage of profile is. The same profile will
Hmm.
work for all 20 of them. So you don't have to
Hmm.
worry about each and individual user. If you have to deal with individual user permission,
That's difficult because
तब तो फिर तो आप
yeah, yeah.
people would have left the job in Salesforce and would have applied for something else. So
Right.
that's how it is. ठीक है?
Okay.
So
Hmm.
that's the base concept of profile. Now permission set again makes things easier for you. Again think about this situation which I was talking about. Out of 20 people, one person needs additional permission. So
Okay.
if we start creating a separate profile for them, again we will end up having too many profiles, which will make life very difficult for the administrator, right?
Hmm.
But with the
Hmm.
permission set, what you're doing, you're just defining one additional permission set
Hmm.
for people who need it. That's it. Once the
Hmm.
requirement is over, once the requirement is done, you can just go ahead and remove the permission set from there. That's it. So you're not changed anything in the
Hmm.
actual profile structure. The
Hmm.
profile, the people having the profiles and all that stuff, in that nothing has changed.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the good thing about it.
Yeah.
Got it? Okay.
Yes.
Now let's go and talk about the other part of it. So we have so far talked about the permissions and all. Now
Hmm.
think about another scenario. Just let me give you guys a small scenario. What is the scenario? Let's say we all are working in the same company.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
we all work in the same company, and we have access to the same data.
Okay.
Okay, we are in the sales team, same company as in we are in the same team also. We have the same profile.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
our profile allows us to see view accounts. Okay,
Hmm.
so in accounts, let's say I have 500 records.
Hmm.
So ideally, from the profile perspective, what will happen if the permission is there to view accounts? You will get to see all 500. I will also get to see all 500 accounts. Correct?
Yes. Hmm.
So there are 500 accounts listed in my Salesforce org. I'll get to see
Hmm.
all 500 accounts, and you will also get to see 500 accounts. That's what
Right.
profile is actually getting you to.
Right.
Now, once we are viewing, we both have the same profile, so we are both viewing viewing the accounts, or all the
Hmm.
500 accounts.
Hmm.
Now, the company has another requirement. Out of these 500 accounts, you are dealing with 200 accounts, and I am dealing with 300 accounts.
Okay.
Okay, that can be a possibility. So, out of this 500,
Yeah, it's possible.
let's say there is a salesman X who deals with 200 accounts and Y who deals with
Hmm.
300 accounts.
Hmm.
Okay, what we have done through profile is we have given the permission. Both of them have
Hmm.
same profile, so both of them get to see all 500 accounts.
Yes.
But if the company says that X should not be able to see the accounts that Y is working on, and Y should not get to see these 200 accounts,
Okay.
because that can also be a requirement. That's the next level of requirement,
Yes.
right? That who gets to
Hmm.
see what data. You have an access to view the data in an object till that profile can manage. Now,
Hmm.
who will get to see what data? That's something which needs to be managed using another option which is called sharing settings.
Hmm.
And this is also very important thing, right? Sharing settings is also very important. Why is it so important? Because you have to define who needs to see what data.
Hmm.
That's something which
Okay.
needs to be controlled, right?
Hmm.
So that's what needs to be defined using sharing settings. So in
Hmm.
sharing settings, all that you have to do is you have to go ahead and define whether the data needs to be private or public.
Okay.
Okay. If it is
Hmm.
public, then both of them will get to
Everything.
see all the data. If it is private, then X will only get to see the 200 accounts that he owns. Y will get to see only 300 records that he owns. Got it? So
Hmm.
for your
Yes.
sharing settings, you have that option of making the data inside an object as private or public. That's what we can do with
Okay.
the sharing settings.
Okay.
Where do you define that? You have to go to setup, security controls, sharing settings. So this is the data level access. Okay.
Hmm.
And under sharing settings, you will see the first option is organization wide default. Under
Hmm.
organization wide default, you'll have to define whether you want to make the data as public or private. Right? So
Hmm.
account and contracts. If you make it private, then only the person who owns the account record will get to see the account.
Okay. And it's for every user, or just
For
administration
every,
can see everything.
no, it's for every user, organization wide sharing default.
Right.
So this is
So okay.
applicable organization wide.
Okay.
Okay, system administrator will get to see data, but
Okay.
he has a
Understood.
special permission. I mean, I'll talk about that permission a little later.
Okay.
So this is otherwise it's meant for the entire organization, right?
Hmm.
So if you make
Yeah.
it private, the data for the entire organization becomes private only, and data for which object you have the option of choosing for which object. So some objects can be public, some can be private. Let's say opportunity you want to make private, accounts
Okay.
you want to keep public. So you have that option, right? So depending on your
Yes.
requirement, you will decide for which object you want the data to be private and for which you want it to be public.
Hmm. Right.
Okay.
Right. Hmm.
So that's what we define using our sharing settings organization by default. So sharing settings is the concept, and under that option is called organization by default.
Hmm. Organization by default. Okay.
Organization wide default. Okay, and
Hmm.
this is
Hmm.
also called OWD.
Okay.
Organization wide default, also called OWD.
Hmm.
Okay,
Okay. Hmm.
so that's it. That's how it is.
Okay. Yeah. Hmm.
Got it? Let me know if there is
Yes.
any
Yeah.
difficulty understanding this.
Not right now.
Nothing?
It's no.
Okay, which is very good.
Hmm.
So, the data level access can be defined using OWD, and whatever you make it private or you make it public, that applies on the entire organization. Okay.
Okay. Hmm.
Now, the next requirement I will have is to deal with exceptions here. Okay. Now, once you have
Hmm.
defined made the data as private or public, the next is sometimes it may happen. If the data is public, then it's absolutely fine. Data is
Okay.
public means everyone gets to see all the data. That's absolutely okay.
Hmm.
But if it is private, then
Hmm.
sometimes you will have the requirement of sharing some data with some people. Sometimes,
Hmm.
let's say data is private, which means you get to see your data, I will get to see my data. Correct.
Okay. Hmm.
Now, I am actually going to be on leave for let's say next 2 weeks. I will not come to office for next 2 weeks.
Hmm.
So in that case, the company wants you to look into my data, but you don't
Okay.
have access to my data. Then what will
Hmm.
happen? How will you access my data?
Okay.
So that's where
Uh,
we will
yes.
need to define a sharing rule. The other concept is called sharing rule. That's where a sharing rule needs to be defined. Just below this OWD, if you scroll down, you will. So if you scroll down,
Mm, okay, feedback switch and rule.
right?
Mm, mm, feedback question sharing rule.
Scroll down. In the sharing rules, you have to just go and define the sharing rule. If you want to define it for account or opportunity or lead, whichever, you just have to click on new and define the sharing rule. Now the sharing rule comes into picture only if you have made that object as private in the OWT.
Okay.
The sharing rule needs to be defined only if the data is private, right?
Yeah, otherwise
If it
everyone
is
can.
public, everyone is anyhow able to see that, right? So there is no
Yes.
special rule required for that. So this
Mm,
comes into picture only if you have made data of a certain object as private.
mm,
So that's where the
mm,
sharing rule will come into
mm,
picture. In
mm,
the sharing rule, you just have to give a rule name as rule 1 based on record owner or based on criteria what you want to pick. Pick up the role, which role you want to put it in.
okay.
Whose data needs to be shared. That's what we're defining here. Okay.
Okay.
Let's say I want to share the data of VP of marketing with
Mm,
VP of International Sales. Okay. So whose
mm,
data needs to be shared with whom? Okay. This will be required only if the data is private. If it's public,
okay.
everyone is seeing the data in here.
Mm,
And what level of access you want to give? You want to give a
okay.
read-only access or read-write access? So that's
Okay.
another thing that you'll have to look into. That are we
Mm,
talking about a read-only access or we are talking about a read-write access? The read-only access will allow the other person to only see the
mm,
data. Read-write
and
access
read
will
only.
allow the other person to access the complete data
Mm,
or edit it as well. Got it?
yes.
So then you just go ahead and make changes and that's it. So that's about the sharing rule.
Mm,
Got it? Is this
mm,
clear?
yes.
Very simple
Okay.
concept. Let
Mm.
me know if there is
So,
any doubt or any confusion understanding of these.
so role means basically a user's name, right?
Role is again assigned to the users.
Okay. So because
Like
these all rules are standardized. Right now we don't have create any rule.
you want, you can create your roles as well. Under manage users, we have the option of roles.
Okay.
You can edit the roles the way you want.
Okay.
If you see, you have the option of deleting any role, and then you have the option of adding the roles. You have the option of assigning the role to a user. Everything is here. All the options are available here.
Okay. So we cannot directly, permit to the directly users, or we have to go to the role only. Like suppose there is a one person that's to whom we want to directly give the access of our data.
There is one person whom you want to give the access to the data.
Oh,
Okay.
so like this permission is going from like role wise. That's like a CEO, that's a sales manager like that. But suppose there may be more than one sales manager, like once uh, area maybe possible. Not
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah, possible. But
Like,
in that case, you will not need to do it through role. In that case, you will
okay,
have to do it through a public group. You'll have to create a public group, put the user in that group, one particular user who needs the permission, put that in the group. And then
okay,
while you're doing the sharing setting, you'll have to control it from the group.
public, okay, public.
Okay, so you have to create a group, public group for the user, and
Okay,
then you can just go and define the sharing rule. and
Okay.
see while you're sharing the access or giving the access, in that case you
Mm.
should be able to do it through the group instead of role, then you should use the group. Okay,
Okay. Okay. Okay.
so that's how it needs to be done in that case.
Yeah. Yeah.
Correct.
Yes.
So that's about our sharing rules, right? So we have talked about four concepts here today. First is profile. Profile is the basic level of permission that every user needs to have, and it's again the collection of permissions as we discussed. Second is permission set. Third is sharing settings. Under sharing settings, we have two things: organization wide default, org wide default, and
Mm. So
org wide default and
hide. What was
sharing
sharing?
rules.
Yeah. Sharing role. Yeah.
So these are
Sharing.
one, two, three, four options that we have, right?
Mm.
So to
Yes.
control the access and permissions for the end users. So we have the
Mm.
profile. In the profile, we give the permission to the users. Okay.
Mm.
Every
Mm.
user needs to have a profile. Same profile can
Mm.
be assigned to multiple users.
Mm.
If some user in a profile needs some additional permissions, then that needs to be dealt with the permission set. If
Yes.
some user uh, requires additional permissions as compared to their profile, then the permission set should be able to help there.
Yes.
Now,
Permission set.
if there is a problem with the data sharing thing, if you want the data to be private for the users,
Mm.
then you can
Mm.
use the OWD in the sharing settings. OWD
Mm.
allows you to make the data as public or private. If the data is public, then it's absolutely fine. Then there's no problem
Mm. Mm.
any which ways.
Right.
But if it is
Right.
private and you want to share access with some person for some smaller duration, then you can use
Mm.
sharing rule for that.
Okay.
Fine.
Mm. Yes.
So we have almost talked about all the aspects of the profile permission set, sharing settings, OWDs, sharing rules, right? So this
Yeah.
is where exactly your access and control is going to be.
Mm.
Got it?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, let me know if there is any question